Today on the Blockchain Report, Bitcoin's hanging around 119K. Maybe it's because Michael Saylor dropped an orange dot and then bought another $740 million worth of orange coin. President Trump signed the Genius Act, declared a golden age, and then tells Wall Street stablecoins or stay home. Also, Trump media, they now hold over $2 billion in Bitcoin because when reality TV meets Treasury strategy, this is what you get. All these stories and more on today's show. Let's go! Good morning, my Satoshi soldiers, my protocol purists, and everyone who spent the weekend orange pilling their Uber driver. Welcome back to another episode of the Blockchain Report, the only show where Bitcoin is the blueprint, altcoins are personality tokens, and every market retracement is just the universe liquidating tourists. I'm Hank Hudson, broadcasting live from the Bay Area, where tech optimism is high, the rent is higher, and your neighbor's dog has his own crypto startup because he's just such a very good boy. It's Monday. The bags are heavier, the memes are meaner, and the group chats are suddenly full of alpha from people who thought Saylor was a DJ only 6 months ago. But before we unpack the price action, the policy chaos, and the inevitable NFT comeback attempts, smash that like button like it owes you gas fees and follow RoxomTV and me at Hank at RoxomTV on every platform that hasn't shadow banned sarcasm yet. Now, whether you're tuned in from your tax-advantaged Wyoming bunker, a co-working loft named The Ledger, or the same kitchen table you used to mine Dogecoin in 2014, strap in because your Monday just went full bull. Now let's kick things off this morning with a quick look at the numbers in today's Market Rundown. Let's go. Alrighty, well, it is good to be back in the commander's chair and looking at the price action this morning. Let's see if the weekend was kind to us, shall we? Let's get started, of course, with Bitcoin currently sitting just beneath 119K. We're still only about $4,000 away from new all-time highs, so that is something we will be monitoring closely, as we do know that typically July is a very bullish month for Bitcoin, at least according to past cycles, so we are waiting and watching for new ATHs any day now. Ethereum having its moment. Finally, in just the last month or so alone, it's up around 60%, currently sitting at $3,838 a pop. Mind you, Ethereum forever was as low as $1,500, then it kind of was hanging out around $2,500 for a while, not really doing a lot of anything, but it looks like there might be corporate strategies that are now using Ethereum as their own corporate bankroll strategy. So it seems to be the price reflecting that Ethereum, maybe this is the start of alt season, I don't know, but Vitalik's looking pretty good right now. XRP also just kind of been the belle of the ball here the last few weeks. It's up over like 65 or 70% in just the last month alone, I believe. Currently up 5% in the last 24 hours. Today, it's sitting at $3.62 a coin. Does Brad Garlinghouse know something that we don't? Maybe. We'll keep an eye on that and keep you posted. Cardano also awakening from the depths, and it is back to life, up 7.5% today, right around that 93 cents a coin. Charles Hoskinson's giving a lot of people "I told you so" right now. And even Dogecoin's getting into the mix. It was sitting below 20 cents for a while. It is now currently at just beneath 28 cents a coin, up nearly 2% in the last 24 hours. So the crypto gods have been quite kind to us, at least as of late. Let's take a look at how things are looking in TradFi today. And it's more the same, not as many ups and green candles as we saw in crypto, but it's looking pretty good overall. Right now, the Dow Jones is up about 0.5% this morning, sitting at around 44,500. The NASDAQ composite up about 0.7% this morning, right around 21,000. And the S&P Also up today, sitting at around 6,300. So things are looking pretty good. Individually, MicroStrategy having a ball today. We saw a little bit of a drawback at the end of last week. Today, Michael Saylor is doing his happy dances. They're up nearly 2.5 percentage points, sitting around $4.33 a share. MicroStrategy doing its thing. Coinbase having also a bit of a resurgence here we've seen in the last month or two. It is around near all-time highs, around $432 a share. Brian Armstrong is feeling something special right now. Tesla, not a lot happening today. They're sitting around $328, $329 a share. Not a lot of movement going on there. Elon, I think, is just taking a nap or playing some Diablo, whatever he does. Nvidia, they're sitting around 172, 173 a pop. And GameStop doing a whole lot of nothing at $23 a share. Well, we got a lot of show for you today. We got top stories. We got two guests coming up, including the man, the myth, the legend himself, Carlos Meslatan, who will be joining us to help us read the tea leaves and tell you where you can expect Bitcoin to be headed next, as we are in the throes of this cycle's bull run. So there's a lot to stay tuned for. So we're going to be right back after this break with more Blockchain Report. Stay tuned.
Security matters. Zappo Bank, the only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at zappobank.com.
All right, gang. Well, we're back for this morning's bull run, and boy, do we got a special treat for all of you. Before we get into the stories, I want to bring in our good friend of the program. He's the man, the myth, the legend himself, who helps us read the tea leaves so you know what's coming next. We're talking about none other than Carlos Meslatan. Carlos, welcome back to the show. It is always a pleasure having you. How are you doing on this Monday morning?
Very well. Greetings from Buenos Aires, the capital of the Republic of Argentina.
Yeah, well, we're so excited.
Thank you for this nice presentation.
Oh, we love having you, Carlos. The pleasure is truly ours. Before we get into this morning's stories, I want to talk about the price action we're seeing right now. Really quick, Bitcoin reached all-time highs not long ago. We're currently sitting around 119.
Give me 1 second. I have a technical issue here. It's okay.
Sure,
okay.
No problem.
We can continue. Okay.
Care of that, no problem. We'll continue. Okay.
Everything is in order now. So, Bitcoin. Perfect. I like very much what Bitcoin is doing in the markets. We are again in the level of $119,000. 2 weeks ago, we reached to the level of $123,000. That was, as you all know, the all-time high. I mentioned that I am waiting for two new heights. One was 138,000, and the second one, that is my preferred one, is 159,000. I still expect the market move to 159,000, and that's in the short term. Short terms in this regards means 2 months from now, no more than that. So wow. I expect that by the month of September, BTC will reach the level of 159,000. That will not be the end of the story, of course. We will probably see a retracement to the downside in that moment, in that level, to continue to the upside after some weeks of technical consolidation. Every time we reach a new high, the market needs to make a retracement for a better consolidation of the new level of price. So I am really very happy with this, not only because I am Bitcoin holder, but because of the views that we have been transmitting from Roxom, although I am speaking only on my behalf, not involving Roxom, but our view in general has been correct during the last months, especially during the lows of April on the 4,000 level. That was a bottom. From that level in April, in March, April, we are very happy to see that we are close to $100,000 again, and expecting 159. But also, if you let me speak about this, Hank, I want to mention also what Solana and Ethereum are doing.
Yeah.
As you all know, Ethereum, it has been very, very difficult for Ethereum to reach new heights during the last 4 years. 4 years. In 2021, Ethereum reached $4,800, and it was almost impossible to this so interesting product to surpass again that all-time high. I believe that at the current level of $3,800, everything is in order to surpass the very old all-time highs from 4 years ago. And in this regard, my expectation also during the next 2 months is ETH to reach $7,100. This is my personal prediction, my personal forecast. Of course, it is always need in this kind of conversation to make like a warning, like a legal warning. This is my personal opinion. I'm not involving Roxom. I am not making any kind of recommendation. So keep in mind that I may be wrong, but this is my sincere personal technical interpretation about what the market is doing. So I expect 159,000 for BTC. I expect 7,100 for ETH. And let me speak about Solana right now. Solana is again close to $200 per unit, 200 per Solana, per coin. And in this regard, and for the same period, that is 2 months from now, I expect Solana to reach the level of $345 each coin.
Mm-hmm.
And always, so to recap this, I expect $151,000 for ETH, $7,100 for ETH, and $345 for Solana. This is my short-term view. And of course, as said before, short terms does not mean the end of the story. It is not that in those levels we will see a crash. We will see normal market corrections. The crypto market is really very bullish, still bullish. I know that many people is talking about bubbles. I don't believe that, and not only for fundamentals, but also for technical reasons. It is also very important to keep in mind, Hank, that all the time the market takes weeks, months, or years even to correct, is consolidating a previous movement. And as long as the consolidation is important, and as has been in BTC and Solana and ETH, and takes time, this is like a market behavior that does not correspond to a bubble. If you have an all-time high and then you have 1 year, 2 years correcting, making a downside correction, that and again the market is moving to the upside, that is the proof that we are not in a bubble, in what normally is called a bubble. However, as you can imagine, Hank, it is my view that anything that is going up, you have the right, in brackets, to say that it's a bubble. It's a normal market phrase. This is a bubble. It is going too much to the upside, so it is a bubble. When the market is moving to the downside, other people saying this is a crash, this product is not useful anymore, it will disappear. Many times during the last 15 years, we have seen people all over the world, including very important people. I don't want to mention them, but they were totally wrong. That the normal phrase in here, for example, 2018, 2014, 2020, even in 2022, is that Bitcoin is over and it will disappear. It was a bubble, a technical bubble, like in Holland, like in the Netherlands with the tulips. Okay, the history of BTC has proved that they were not correct, and we are doing everything is going well, in my view. Sorry for being too bullish today, but I am very happy for the market behavior.
Oh, I love your bullishness, Carlos. You're the man who can read the tea leaves. So I wanna unpack each of these Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana really quick. You said that you expect Bitcoin's next mark to be around 138 and then in the 150s by the next 2 months. Right now we're sitting at 119. What do you anticipate being the catalyst that drives us to those next all-time highs? Is it going to be continued corporate Bitcoin treasury adoption? Are you expecting maybe some moves from the United States government to start actively acquiring Bitcoin? What do you think is going to get us to those prices in the next 2 months?
Well, I want to make the following comments, Hank. First of all, of course, I am following what the House of Representatives in Washington and the Senate are legislating regarding crypto. I totally agree with the way that the White House is collaborating, let's say, with the crypto markets. It is very important. Probably you have seen last week there was like an amendment by the Republican bloc in the House saying that the U.S. government guarantees that they will never create CBDCs. That means central bank cryptocurrencies. And that is an ideology contrary to what China and Europe is doing. As a person from Latin America that uses US dollars and being a BTC believer and being a person believing in freedom, I am also very satisfied with this resolution. The official declaration by the US that they will not move the US dollar to the modality of the CBDC, that means cryptocurrencies from the central bank. And this is also very, very important. It's an excellent fundamental also for BTC and crypto in general. Also, I want to share with you another idea, that is the ratio between BTC and ETH. Many people has been doing this during the last 8 years. 8 years ago, probably around 2017, the ratio between BTC and ETH was 0.13. That means you needed 0.13 BTC just to buy one ETH. Like say 6 months ago, it was only necessary 1.8 cent of a BTC to buy one ETH. Now the ratio is over 3 cents of a BTC to buy one ETH. And my expectation in this regards, and regarding what I said about what I expect for ETH for the next 2 months, I expect the relation will be around 4 cents of a BTC to buy one ETH, or even 0.044 BTC to buy one ETH. So I expect a better development for ETH at this historical stage than the trend we have seen during the last 8 years, because the historical ETH correction is over, in my view.
All right, we're back. Sorry about the interruption. We had a bird that flew into the studio last week, and I think it's living in the walls and chomping through our wires or something. Either way, it's wreaking havoc, but we're back here with the man, the myth, the legend, Carlos Meslatan, talking about the markets and price action happening today. Carlos, welcome back to the show. As we were saying before, a little interruption here, Carlos. This particular cycle, we've seen Bitcoin hit highs of 123, yet Ethereum hasn't done a lot up until recently, as we're now seeing it near that $4,000 mark again. You think it could go as high as 7,100 in the next 2 months. What do you think is causing this recent surge in the price of Ethereum? Are people taking profits from Bitcoin and putting it into altcoins for higher alpha plays? Or what are you seeing out there right now?
No, I have been following during the last 8 years the ratio between ETH and BTC. The ratio initially in year 2017 was around 13 cents of a BTC to buy one ETH. 13. It went down like 3-4 months ago to the level of 1.8 cents of BTC to purchase one ETH. I believe this correction of ETH regarding BTC is over. The current ratio is 3.3 cents of a BTC to buy one ETH. My expectation during the next 2 months is the ratio to reach the level of 4.4 cents of a BTC to buy one ETH. It has been very, very difficult for ETH to surpass the all-time high of 2021. It tried to do that many times, several times. It reached like $4,300, $4,000 several times, and it failed. And I believe the current bullish trend for ETH that started like 1 month ago, this bullish trend will succeed, returning not only ETH to the previous all-time high of $4,800, but also reaching new heights, as I told before, at the level I expect of $7,100. This is my view regarding ETH. The reason nobody knows. It's pure market behavior. It's a matter of cycles. But in this regard, I am bullish, really, for the first time in several years with ETH in relation with BTC. This does not mean that my investment portfolio will move from BTC to ETH in any way. My level of exposition of risk in my personal portfolio I would like to have, and I really have regarding ETH is 10%. Of 100% of investment in crypto, I invest only 10% in ETH. Even that I am very, very bullish with ETH. It's a market of risk, basically.
Sure.
So that is my personal interpretation. Of course, this is not a recommendation. I may be totally wrong, but this is my view. A good moment for crypto, a good moment not only technically but fundamentals and politically speaking. That is why I commented to you some minutes ago the laws, the acts that are going to be approved in Washington in the U.S. Congress. But everything is going well, and I don't agree that the current cycle is a bubble. Okay.
So you said there's a lot of good momentum right now. Couldn't agree more. We're seeing a lot of great legislation being passed that's very pro crypto, very pro Bitcoin. We're seeing these Bitcoin corporate treasuries pop up. There's even some Ethereum corporate treasuries we're starting to see. But you also mentioned Solana. They're now sitting around $200 for the first time in a while. What do you account for that increase in Solana? Should I be buying more NFTs again, or is there something else? Or everybody just looking to get those alpha plays as they're thinking maybe altcoin season is on the horizon?
I am bullish with Solana up to the level of $345 from the 200 level that we are seeing now. The reason, again, I don't know. In general, Hank, in markets, when you see an uptrend, you don't have the explanation about why that is happening. First comes the movement, and then comes the after the movement is unfolding. After a long time, it comes with the explanation about why, the reason. Markets, in fact, it is not clear from the fundamental point of view that markets moves in relation in a direct and immediate relation with the fundamental, but probably something good will be announced regarding Solana during the next months. But my explanation today about why the current level and why the current level with Solana is pure technical.
Pure technical. Got it. And so right now you said you've kind of mapped out what you think is going to happen in the next 2 months. You think Bitcoin could be in the high 150s. We think Ethereum could be around 7,100 and Solana maybe around 345. That's your 2-month predictions. Has anything that we've seen in the last few weeks and months here changed your end of the year predictions for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana? What is that looking like to you right now, given the momentum that we're seeing in the crypto market, specifically Bitcoin?
Well, the question can also be, is there anything that may happen in the market to allow you to invalidate your bullish view? Yes. We have always to keep in mind that something wrong can happen. In this sense, I believe that a fall of BTC below $108,000 will invalidate my immediate bullish view. But I don't believe that that will happen. I expect more than that Bitcoin moves over $123,000, confirming my bullish view, my bullish short-term view to the level of $159,000.
And while I got you here, Carlos, I would love to hear your opinion on these Bitcoin treasuries, these corporate Bitcoin treasuries that we're seeing pop up. It seems like every day we're seeing a couple new ones borrowing from the Michael Saylor playbook. Do you feel like that is a sustainable model going forward? Or you talked about if there maybe is something bearish happening, could it maybe be this corporate Bitcoin treasury strategy is maybe a little bit of a bubble and we could see maybe a retracement as a result of that at some point? Or do you think that that model is sustainable going forward?
I really believe it's sustainable. Yes. What MicroStrategy has been doing during the last year is really very, very impressive. And they are gaining money every day. It's really very impressive. It's more than 600,000 BTC they own now. No, it's yes.
Right. Yeah, it's like
also Mara is okay. What we have to consider regarding this company is the ratio, and this is very important. It is the ratio between the net asset value and the market cap. 8 months ago, the MicroStrategy market cap was 3 times the net asset value, but now it's only 60-70% more than the net asset value. That it's not too much. That means that during this year, what happened is that BTC went up and MicroStrategy went up, but not as up as BTC. So I understand that the current price for MicroStrategy is not as dangerous as it was perhaps in November last year. And you can see the history price. MicroStrategy is still not at all-time high. It's quite below all-time high. So, but it will surpass also its own all-time high. But this is this has been I believe for the I can see in your chart like 20 Bitcoin treasury companies. It has been a good experiment. I believe that we didn't imagine this kind of investors and investment and companies, let's say in 2015. That's totally new. The only thing we have seen like 10 years ago were some special funds not open to the general public and some pre ETF companies. But this is really very impressive. And I believe these 20 companies have fundamentals. What I would like to do as an investor or as a professional speculator is concentrate more in the ratio between, as I told, market cap and net asset value. and my investment trend is and will be to buy those companies where the ratio is lower than
Right.
like, for example, the Japanese Metaplanet that seems to be very, very expensive at these levels.
Yeah. Are you not concerned? I guess my question to you is, Strategy right now is a cost basis for their Bitcoin. I think it's around like 71,000 per BTC. So they've got a lot of room. They've got about $50,000 worth of space there, right, before they could be in a little bit of trouble. But we're seeing all these new companies buy in as Bitcoin treasury companies, but their cost basis, around 110K for a lot of these. So my question to you is, if we were to see a 30% drawback, which we've seen plenty of times before, are you concerned at all that this could pose a problem to these companies that have a cost basis around 110? If Bitcoin were to fall to 90K, could we see a bunch of liquidations across the board, and that could kind of cause a domino rally effect for these companies that aren't MicroStrategy and haven't been acquiring for a long time? Does that concern you at all?
No, really no. Most of these companies don't owe money because the public had been subscribing stocks, and with the proceeds of the subscription, the companies had been buying BTC. I know that in some cases they owe some amount of US dollars. That means some risk, but in relation with the total investment is not very dangerous in my view. So I also believe in the accounting fundamentals of these companies, especially MicroStrategy. For me, it's okay.
Yeah. I guess I worry about, it seems to be a popular move where you have these companies whose underlying business isn't doing a lot. The Strategy is one of them, but again, they've accumulated so much Bitcoin over the last 5 or 6 years. For them, it's a little bit of a different arena than a lot of these companies. But you'll have somebody that's underlying business like GameStop, right? For instance, people aren't really buying video games over the counter. They're downloading to their consoles now. So their kind of business is fundamentally changed. That doesn't worry you at all when a company is like, hey, we're going to go full on Bitcoin strategy, even though our primary business model is not doing so great. Is that not putting too much pressure on that? For them, that doesn't worry you at all. It worries me a little bit, but you're the man with the answers, so I'd love to get more of your opinion on that.
No, not really. For example, I see here Tesla. It doesn't matter if Tesla owns like 12,000 BTC. It's not so important. So or you mentioned GameStop also, right? Okay. No, it's not too much. I believe that even in the case there is a bad management from many of these companies regarding the exposure to BTC and the fact that they are using the working capital that may be used in their own activities, in the traditional activities for buying BTC. I don't think this will create a systemic crash. No, for me the fundamentals are okay. But in any case, Hank, my decision regarding to be bullish or not bullish or bearish or more bearish or not bearish are the charts.
Yeah.
And what I see in the chart today is really very positive for all the industry. And for the first time in let's say in 4 years, I am not only bullish with BTC, but as I mentioned, with Solana and with ETH.
Well, we'd love to hear all that. So with this bullish momentum in mind, a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of, you're feeling bullish. The legislation in the United States feels very bullish right now. What are your predictions for the end of the year prices for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana if we are to stay on this bullish trajectory over the next 5 or 6 months? What are you feeling?
At least for the next 2 months, I expect the 3 levels I mentioned. That is 7,100 for ETH, $345 for Solana, and $59,000 for BTC. I don't like to think
that's
technically speaking, in year periods. If you ask me, what is your expectation for the last day of this year? I don't know. And I don't care about that. Why? Because I expect the three main currencies to reach the level I mentioned in 2 months, maybe 3 months. After that, I expect a downtrend, a short-term downtrend, like perhaps 10%, 15%. And perhaps there is a coincidence at the end of the year that the levels of these three cryptos will be lower than the level I expect them to reach in September. So I am concentrating more in the next all-time high for the three cryptos that I mentioned, Solana, ETH, and BTC, than the price those cryptos will reach in the last trading day of 2025. Perhaps, like it happens in December last year, the last 15 days of the year are for the downside. It may happen. So concentrate best of all, according to my view, in these three objectives. Again, 7,100, 345, and 159. And so, then we will Carlos, see.
As we're
call me again in September and let's see what happened. And at that moment, you can ask me, what is your prediction for October, November, and December? I will be able to respond to you.
Perfect. Let me just write these down so I remember to ask you in 3 months. Bitcoin 158, Ethereum 7,100, Solana 345.
159, 71.
Even better. And 345, right? Love it.
Thanks very much.
So, Carlos, with all of this additional, we're seeing specifically institutional money coming in to Bitcoin right now, do you feel like the normal cycles, the halving cycles we've seen time and again through Bitcoin's history are still in play? Will they still even happen the same way? Will they happen but maybe be a little less volatile? How do you see that playing out? Or are we entering a whole new phase of Bitcoin's maturation process where its price won't be dictated so much by the so-called halving cycles?
As a technical analyst, I always have to consider the possibility of downtrends. Sure. Even with those incredible bullish fundamentals for BTC, even with Michael Saylor speaking all the day in favor of his company and in favor of BTC, corrections in markets cannot be avoided. The fact is that I don't expect the BTC to describe a downtrend of the level of, for example, 2014. You remember in 2014, BTC fall from let me remember, $1,200 to $150. Remember, it's incredible. Those prices are very impressive. The bottom of January 2015 was $150, what now costs 100 times more. See? I don't also expect to have a downtrend like the one of 2018. In 2018, we have seen a fall between $20,000 and $3,000. I don't expect that. I expect more moderate corrections. Even living in an historical and an incredible uptrend, my expectation for corrections are not. I cannot be avoided. So I am bullish with corrections, as always happens in all the markets. The same goes for any currency, for the US dollars against the euro, for a commodity like gold or soybeans or copper. The same goes for the Nasdaq 100 or for the S&P 500. The markets moves up and down. Why? Normally there are many explanations, but why not? One of the main reasons to explain why the market is moving in this very difficult way to understand is that the people use leverage. Leverage is what produces the uptrends and the downtrends. That's the sudden uptrends and the sudden downtrends. And also what it is called in the markets, the short selling. Short selling normally is the amount of short selling interest is accumulated in the bottoms of the markets. When the market moves from the downside to the upside, all the people that has been selling short, that is very typical in the New York Stock Exchange or in the Nasdaq, produces an additional uptrend because the people that is short needs to cover their positions. And the same goes when the market is in an all-time high or with many people using leverage. It produces downtrends. So this is how market have been moving during the last 400 years in the days of the first stock exchange in the Netherlands. All the history of the U.S. stock exchange proves what I am trying to describe in my own words, how the market behaves.
Yeah, and we certainly appreciate your insight and expertise kind of guiding us through this process every time we have you on the show, Carlos, so we certainly appreciate you. Before we let you go, we've talked about where you think Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana is going. We have those new all-time highs. I wrote them on my hand here. Is there anything else our audience out there should be looking at or towards as we move forward to hopefully some new Bitcoin all-time highs here in the next 2 months? Anything we didn't cover?
No, it's okay. My explanation is what I said. Let's speak in a couple of weeks if you want, and we can continue analyzing the market. But everything is in the good trend according to my desire or according to my analysis. Keep in mind that if you use leverage, you can lose money. And also keep in mind, as I said many times, that I may be totally wrong. So I am not recommending anything to anyone. Just sharing my views with you, RoxomTV. Yeah. In fact, I am an officer for Roxom, not RoxomTV. I'm very happy to work in this company. In a couple of weeks or in 1 month, we will launch 4 new products that we will be offering to the general public, except the U.S. the U.S. residents. Will be offering the possibility to trade perpetual contracts with leverage, of course, between gold and BTC, perpetual contracts for oil and against BTC, perpetual swaps contracts between S&P 500 and BTC, and perpetual contracts between Nasdaq 100 and BTC. That will be the first time this kind of products are offered, and we hope our products will be very appreciated all over the world and will be a total success. So let's speak about this in, I believe, 5 weeks from now, if you want.
Can't wait, and people can learn. And our audience, if they want to learn more, they can go check it out at Roxom.com. Is that right?
Yes, exactly. We are testing the system now, but we will be launching in, let's say, 5 to 6 weeks more.
Incredible. Well, we certainly can't wait here, and we can't wait to have you back on the show again, Carlos. As always, thank you for your time, your insight, and expertise. I know I and our audience always loves having you on the show, and we thank you this morning for making some time for us, and we can't wait to see you again in a couple weeks.
Let's do that. Thanks very much, Hank. Goodbye.
Thank you, Carlos. We'll see you soon. All right, gang, we're going to take a quick break, but when we're back, we got the top stories of the day, and our good friend Fernando, the Bitcoin libertarian, will be joining us on the show, so stay tuned. More Blockchain Report coming up right after this.
Security matters. Zappo Bank, the only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at zappobank.com.
All right, welcome back to the Blockchain Report, and we are about to go over this morning's bull run with our top stories. But joining us For our bull run this morning is one of my favorite people. Fernando, the Bitcoin libertarian, will be joining us, and we'll be chatting about all of today's top news. Fernando, it's so good to have you back on the show. How are you doing on this Monday?
I'm fine. I'm happy to be here. For you, it's Monday. For me, it's Tuesday. Remember that I come from the future. So yes, but I'm happy to be here. Always, it's a pleasure to share with you the Bitcoin insights that what is happening in the world. So let's do it.
Can't wait. All right, hang 10. We'll be back with you in just a second. Let's go over this first story because Michael Saylor, he's done it again. Because when your business model is buy Bitcoin forever, Monday is just another buying opportunity. Strategy has confirmed its second BTC purchase this month, adding over 6,200 Bitcoin for around $740 million, bringing its grand total to 607,770 BTC. That's right, 607,000 Bitcoin worth $43.6 billion at an average price of $71,756 per coin. This latest move comes hot on the heels of their July 14th buy, when Strategy scooped up around 4,200 Bitcoin for a near $472 million. And it all started, as usual, with the now ritualistic orange dot post. Saylor returned to X over the weekend, posting the sacred Bitcoin performance dots without any other context. No press release, no earnings call, no 8K, just vibes, volatility, and a smirking meme chart that every Bitcoiner reads like it's scripture. The caption, 2 cryptic lines, and if you know, you know. Because in Saylor's world, orange dots are either a purchase announcement or a flex. Turns out, this time, it was both. Strategy's market cap now stands at $119 billion, and their Bitcoin stash alone is worth over $71 billion. That's nearly 60% of the company's value. The NAV premium has jumped to 1.67x, and the speculation machine is back in full swing. Even Vanguard, the anti-Bitcoin holdouts, now own 20 million shares of Strategy stock themselves. That's about 8% of the entire company. Because apparently, if you can't beat the Bitcoiners, index your way into them quietly and pretend you don't know that it's actually happening. Meanwhile, MicroStrategy stock is up 2% today in trading, hitting around 430 and reversing last week's dip. That gain reflects renewed investor confidence in Strategy's conviction and probably a few institutional traders panic buying after they realized that they were underexposed. Year to date, Strategy's Bitcoin portfolio has returned 20.8%, which makes it one of the best performing treasuries in corporate America. They've now overtaken NVIDIA on the top 10 US corporate treasury list, and they're currently holding more than 12 times what Mara Holdings does. So what's next? More dots, more buys, more Saylor tweets that make people question reality? Probably, yeah. Because Strategy isn't dollar cost averaging, they're dollar conquering. And if this keeps up, the next orange dot might come with a side of full corporate Bitcoin hegemony. Let the games continue, my friends, and let's bring back Fernando. Fernando, MicroStrategy now holds over 600,000 Bitcoin. Do you believe this is a responsible long-term business strategy, or is this a little too risky for a public company? What do you think?
For me, not holding Bitcoin is risky at this point of the history of the economics. So I think that it's not risky at all. I think that Saylor is he knows what he's doing, and he has the playbook that he's been playing for years, and he's proving every week, every month that he's doing right. So I don't think risky. I think that, again, risky is not having Bitcoin. And he's gonna continue buying, and he's developing a lot of new instruments to keep buying Bitcoin without diluting the shares and keep accumulating and keep increasing the value of shares of sats per share. So he's not stopping. And as you said before, many companies that they hate Bitcoin, now they enter in the FOMO stage, and they are not gonna buy Bitcoin, but they are gonna buy Bitcoin through the proxies. And there is no second best. The biggest proxy for Bitcoin, especially in America, is Strategy. So I think that what he's doing is perfect. He's funneling fiat into Bitcoin is a strategy, it's a big black hole where the fiat is coming and it turned into Bitcoin. So, and he's not gonna sell. It's like, it's crazy. So I think that it's a sure bet.
I agree. I think kind of like what you said, the only risk right now you have is not owning more Bitcoin. I mean, if the last 15, 16 years were any indication, it seems to be a pretty good store of value based on the millions of percent increase we've seen in just the last 16 years. So I think our friend Michael might be onto something. Something that was also interesting about this particular story was that now Vanguard owns more shares of MicroStrategy than Michael Saylor does. What do you think about a company that publicly criticizes Bitcoin, but now ends up heavily invested in it? Is that just par for the course, and we're going to be seeing that more and more as companies acquiesce and start putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet? Because frankly, they need to be doing that, right?
I think that most of the company that criticized Bitcoin at the beginning and the people who criticized Bitcoin at the beginning, now they are realizing that their critics were not correct. So they want to come, and probably they cannot buy Bitcoin, straight Bitcoin, but they can buy MicroStrategy, they can buy ETF. And again, for me, there is a lot of controversy now with the strategy companies that there are now, like most of the people say that they are going to be the shitcoins of this cycle, because probably now all of the companies, their strategy is do a Bitcoin treasury. But of course, I think that there will be a lot of shitcoins, a lot of companies that will have a bad time, especially when these fluctuations of the market come. But it's not the case of strategy. So I think that the companies that criticize Bitcoin and now wants to get exposure into Bitcoin, of course, we are not talking real Bitcoin, because the real Bitcoin is the spot when you hold your keys. But if you want to have some exposure to Bitcoin, you go and you don't want to buy the spot, you go and buy strategy. Because as I said, it's not only the stock, the strategy stock, they have Strive, a lot of different instruments that are amazing, and you get exposure to Bitcoin with different returns. So I think that it is perfect, the strategy that Saylor is doing. Of course, you are not investing, you are not having Bitcoin. If you don't have your keys, you don't have Bitcoin. But if you want exposure without this issue of knowing your keys, learning self-custody, and all these things that Bitcoin has, I think that the best option is a strategy.
Yeah, I agree. And kind of to your point, it seems like while there's still, of course, going to be detractors from Bitcoin that say this and that, we've seen time and time again, Michael Saylor himself, not initially a Bitcoiner, but they do their research, they dip their toes in the water, and they begin to see all the benefits that having Bitcoin on your ledger does. And we're seeing it now en masse with all these Bitcoin corporate strategies popping up each and every day. So a little education seems to go a long way. And do you think that's why companies like Vanguard are purchasing MicroStrategy to get that exposure without having to dip their both feet in the water? They just kind of want to dip their toe in there, see what it's all about, and then maybe they'll start acquiring actual Bitcoin once they're a little more familiar with the space?
Yes, of course. I think that many on Saturday morning, I was talking with the father of a friend, and he was asking me, do I buy Bitcoin and all these things? And say, probably if you want to buy Bitcoin, you need to learn a lot of things that probably you don't want to learn, because he's 62, he's wealthy, he has money, so it's not a problem for him. So I said, better if you want exposure to Bitcoin, just go with strategy or go with an ETF. And probably this happening in different companies, that they want to have exposure to Bitcoin, but they don't want to handle the keys and do all the engineering, and someone is doing for you. That is Saylor. Of course, you pay a premium on that, because it's like most expensive to buy the share than buy the Bitcoin spot, but you're paying the premium for all the work that is putting Saylor on that. And at the end of the day, if you want to see as an investment, I think that is the best investment you can do. to if you want to invest on stocks, right? To go and buy MicroStrategy or a well-managed company that has exposure into Bitcoin. That's the point. And again, there is no second best to MicroStrategy.
No, absolutely not. And I'm glad you mentioned their premium, because Strategy right now, their stock is trading at a large premium to its net asset value. Do you believe this is justified because of their Bitcoin strategy?
Probably yes. Yes, I think it's because the Bitcoin strategy. Again, because many of the companies, they don't want or they cannot buy Bitcoin straight. For example, my company in Hong Kong, we cannot buy Bitcoin as a company, but we can buy MicroStrategy. We can buy MetaPlanet. So that's the thing. Most of the companies that cannot buy Bitcoin, they just go and buy strategy. Most of the people or investors that feel more comfortable by buying stocks, they can buy stocks instead of Bitcoin. It's a different game. So one game is investing and the other game is Bitcoin. So if you buy Bitcoin, Bitcoin is just the spot Bitcoin is to secure your future, to pass through generation, is voting against the fiat system. And on the other side, you can opt buying strategy to look for more returns. And again, most of the people that don't want to do their diligence and learn Bitcoin and how to manage Bitcoin, it's okay. They can go for a company that has exposure. And that's why you pay the premium. That's the point.
Right. What do you think it's going to take for companies like Vanguard, for instance, to purchase like actual Bitcoin as opposed to these Bitcoin proxy stocks? Is it an issue of education? Is it an issue of maybe user like interface? Is it too complicated and that needs to be simplified further for people to feel comfortable about handling their own Bitcoin? What is it going to take to see this real adoption, so we're not just seeing these big companies buy proxies, but more and more actually buy their own Bitcoin and hold it?
Well, you say that it's education. I think that the main point is education and sometimes simplicity. Sometimes imagine people that has invested all their lives in Wall Street trying to change the paradigm to go through a new concept like is Bitcoin. For them, it's much easier, simpler. They have their company structure to invest in other companies. So for them, it's much easy to go and buy strategy instead of buying the Bitcoin spot. And again, they don't have to do all these, the keys, manage the keys, all the Bitcoin things. So, and probably their clients, they are not, remember that all these funds have clients. It's not that they are putting their money. So probably their clients are not people who is interested in Bitcoin. They don't see Bitcoin as a good investment. So if they put in money in a strategy, people say, oh, amazing. You're buying a stock that is doing better than the rest. For me, it's good. But they don't know that behind the stock is a Bitcoin. So that's what I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think another big thing that we're seeing in real time, and I want to talk about in just a sec, are these legislations being passed on a national level. I mean, the United States just passed signing the Genius Act into law, and I'm going to talk about with you in just a sec. So hang tight there, Fernando, because this next story I want to go over with you in just a minute. Because Bitcoin has officially entered its "they said it couldn't be done" era. It hit a new all-time highs this month of 123K per coin. That's double what it was in just April. Ethereum, XRP, and every other token with a white paper and a pulse are riding that same wave. The total crypto market cap is now sitting pretty, above $4 trillion. In the middle of all of this madness, of course, we have Donald J. Trump casually declaring that it's the beginning of a golden age. Because, of course, he said that. During a White House signing ceremony, Trump put pen to paper on the Genius Act, a stablecoin bill designed to make crypto and the US dollar, quote, stronger and bigger and better than ever before. He called the bill a giant step to cement US dominance in global finance and crypto tech, and called it a massive validation for crypto companies. Meanwhile, Elon Musk apparently confirmed a Bitcoin game changer, whatever the hell that means. And the XRP army, well, they're busy pushing a new conspiracy theory that Satoshi Nakamoto may be tied to Ripple. So yeah, totally normal week here in the cryptoverse, but let's get back to the Genius Act here really quick. It forces stablecoin issuers to hold fully backed reserves of dollars or similar government-issued assets. And if they issue more than $50 billion, well, annual audits are required. Because apparently we're pretending accounting is how we avoid the next Terra Luna meltdown. The stablecoin market has already hit $250 billion. Wall Street and Silicon Valley are now tripping over themselves to launch their own. And the rally, it's real. Ethereum's up like 60% this month. XRP's up over 60%. And traders believe the Genius Act could turbocharge Trump's broader crypto agenda. A report from Trump's Digital Asset Task Force is actually due next week, and it may include plans for a U.S. Bitcoin strategic reserve and a crypto stockpile that could include Ethereum, XRP, Solana, and Cardano. The Senate is also about to take up the Clarity Act, a bill aimed at defining crypto market structure. Senator Tim Scott gave it a hard deadline of September 30th. On the All In podcast, Trump's digital asset point man, Bo Hines, said, quote, "We're fixing the plumbing of our financial system." He also said that we're securing U.S. dollar dominance for decades to come. And here's the kicker. He said if you want to access our capital markets, you're going to have to use a dollar-backed stablecoin. Or in other words, the U.S. just put a velvet rope around crypto, and now they own the guest list. Stablecoin holders still can't earn interest, but Trump's crypto czar, David Sachs, says he wants to change that too. Analysts and traders are loving the action. Axel Rudolph from IG says Bitcoin is hovering around 120K currently, Ethereum is at a 6-month high, and XRP and Litecoin are both surging. ETF inflows and institutional buying are pouring in, and crypto sentiment has in fact shifted. And with Trump riding high, stablecoins getting regulated, and Bitcoin climbing like it's late to a yacht party, yeah, it's officially crypto week, and this time it actually means something. We're bringing back Fernando. Fernando, former current president Donald Trump says the Genius Act will begin a golden age for crypto in the U.S. Do you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I agree because it's the first time that the government not of a country, but the biggest country, the biggest economy in the world is putting eyes into the Bitcoin world. So I think that since Trump, imagine that when Trump won the election, that we had that night we had an all-time high because he is into, in fact, today he bought 2 million, not he, but his company bought $2 billion US on Bitcoin. So imagine if he puts the money where his mouth is. So I think that all this interest in United States government into crypto is good for the industry because just imagine that a couple of months ago, at that time this year, we had a government that hate crypto and Bitcoin. We have we know United States. United States had a government that hate Bitcoin, that sell Bitcoin. Also happened with Germany. They sold Bitcoin at 50K per coin. So all these things, all these regulations are good for the space, are good in general for crypto, and of course for Bitcoin is going to be always good. I don't agree with all these things mixing Cardano, Ethereum, XRP, and all this crap into a stockpile or something like that. But I'm not the president of the United States. I think that this act shows that the government is interested in this kind of technology, and it's going to be good. Of course, the Maxis are going to say, no, Bitcoin is not for the governments. We always fought against the governments. I'm a libertarian. I'm a anarcho-capitalist, almost anarcho-capitalist, but I think that we live in a world with rules. So as a Bitcoiner, I think that it's better than the government backs the cryptocurrencies instead of is against that. So I think that this act is going to be good for all the ecosystem. Let's see how it regulates. Let's see how we can prevent the another Terra Luna, another these kind of scams that are bad for the environment. But at the end of the day, Bitcoin is like all these news are good for Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is unstoppable. So it's good.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. But I will say with Trump, it always feels like it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And you mentioned them also considering Solana, Cardano, XRP into these the strategic reserves. But you're not a big fan of it, which I understand. Which kind of makes me wonder, why do you think Trump is choosing to include those in the first place? I kind of wonder is if he doesn't include other cryptocurrency coins, does it kind of set a bad precedent for his own coin, Trump coin? Because if other coins aren't involved in this, then it's just kind of making that line. There's Bitcoin and there's everything else. But by having other like these altcoins be part of it, it almost kind of validates Trump coin's existence a little bit, which I'm not a big fan of because I think that brings a little bit of illegitimacy to the space. Do you think maybe that's why he decided to include those coins, or do you think maybe there's other reasons at play that I'm just not aware of right now?
I think that we spoke about that a couple of when I was like I know the previous or the first episode I was here. I think that as a politician, you get a lot of help during your political campaign when you run to president, and then when you are on seated on the seat, you need to give them something back. So probably he had a lot of support of all these people on the crypto space, and he doesn't want. He has to support them on a way. I think that I see all of these other cryptocurrencies. Of course, I'm not a fan. I'm Bitcoin only, and I'm against on all this. But they are businesses, so they are not like Bitcoin. Ethereum is a business. Cardano is a business. Solana is a business. So he is legislating towards probably a businessman that help them, and he thinks that is the best for the country to onboard them on this project too. In my opinion, it's not good, but I'm not the president of the United States.
Yeah. No, you make some good points. It probably is a little quid pro quo.
And again, it's like you need to understand when you're in office, there are a lot of powers that you need to make happy a lot of people. So it's not easy to be there. I would say if I were the president of Argentina, I would remove the peso and I would put Bitcoin as a legal currency. But once you are there, things are not as easy as my be when you are not there. So yes, like I don't support all the things, but I think that overall this is good for Bitcoin.
Yeah, I do think it's a net positive. I do agree with you, especially if we see, as Trump has suggested, a U.S. Bitcoin National Reserve, which we have heard about before. I know Senator Cynthia Lummis has talked about a plan where the United States acquires 200,000 Bitcoin a year for the next 5 years till we have like 1 million. What do you think would be the global impact if tomorrow President Trump comes out and says the United States is going to start actively buying and acquiring Bitcoin using taxpayer funds? Would that just be the big domino to start the next gigantic rally? Because it kind of feels like if the US grants permission for themselves to buy Bitcoin, then you got to imagine all the other big powers are going to follow suit. Is that what you would see kind of playing out? And then if that happened, where do you think the Bitcoin price could go? I mean, it's kind of unimaginable at this point, right?
Yes, this event is gonna trigger. I don't know if he's gonna say if it's good for the government to say yes, we are gonna buy because before buying, because I think that when this happens, it will trigger as we spoke about the retail FOMO, we spoke about that it generates the price to go up. We spoke about now the corporate FOMO, that is the companies, when Sailor buys, all the companies want to buy because strategy is buying. And imagine what can happen if you have a country FOMO. So if all the countries start, United States say, okay, we are going to buy 1 million Bitcoin, and then, okay, all the countries will start converting their gold, their dollars or whatever money that they can turn into Bitcoin. And this will trigger a massive event that for me is gonna take the price of Bitcoin to 1 million US dollars. Like technically, I don't want to say overnight, but you cannot imagine like all the countries trying to fight to Bitcoin. Because I was reading the book, I started the book from Jason Lowry, Software. And it's interesting how he planned, he puts Bitcoin as not as a currency, not as an investment, but as a matter of national defense. So in a potential software, in a war for the future, like where states are gonna fight not based on guns or killing other people, but to control the cyberspace. And Bitcoin is a matter of national security. So imagine if United States says this, all the countries are gonna align and are gonna, because for example, now some countries, the IMF says you cannot buy Bitcoin. But imagine I am the president of a country that the IMF says you cannot buy Bitcoin. But I say, but United States, that is one of the biggest partners of the IMF, is buying Bitcoin. Why I cannot buy Bitcoin? So it's gonna trigger a massive nation state FOMO that for me is gonna put the price of Bitcoin in 7 figures as fast as we can go today from 118 to 130.
Yeah. And that kind of brings to mind a question for me that I would love for you to ponder over a little. Do you think that the United States is trying to lead the global crypto market because Trump thinks it's important? Or does he realize that it's important to try and control it before it becomes so big and we're not the leader? Like, is Trump doing this because it's good for him and he was backed by a lot of people in the crypto industry? Or is there part of him that sees the importance of crypto and Bitcoin specifically and knows that he needs to get ahead of the game, because if we're not the first mover, then we're going to see China or Russia or another big power be it instead? So what do you think? Is he doing this for his own purposes, or does he actually realize that this is a thing that's not going away, so we better get ahead of it and try to be the leader?
I'm not on the mind of Donald Trump, but let's say if I were the president of the United States, first of all, you need to see that Bitcoin is here to stay. Bitcoin already won, and you cannot control. If you don't front run the other countries are gonna front run you. And in a matter of years, Bitcoin is going to become the global reserve, the global value reserve of the world. And you cannot manipulate it. In the past, United States said, okay, we have the dollar, or in the past, they pick up the gold and bring to the United States. Now with Bitcoin, you cannot do, because it's like private. You cannot say a person, give me your Bitcoin, because you need a private key. And you need... I don't know how you can get a private key from a person. So that's why I think that as a matter of Bitcoin becoming the global asset reserve of the world, the value reserve of the world, and you are the president of the United States, the biggest economy in the world, if you want to keep this position for a long time, you need to get as much Bitcoin as possible, as many Bitcoin as possible, because it happened. We saw it in strategy. We saw the company that acquired Bitcoin at a faster pace is winning the race. That is a strategy. So it's gonna. This applies for a company, for an individual, and for a country. If you don't accumulate Bitcoin, you are gonna left behind, and you're gonna lose power, and you are gonna lose power of negotiation in the future. Because again, as Saylor says, the person this is like the monopoly game. The person or the country or the company that controls the biggest amount of Bitcoin wins. It's going to have the biggest power in the world in the future. So I think that this is the thinking that Trump has, and the thinking that every leader in the world must have. Every person in the world must have this issue. Every day when you wake up, say, what can I do to get more Bitcoin? Because again, it's gonna be the reserve of value of the world in a couple of years. And if you don't have Bitcoin, you're gonna be left behind. So as a person, you need to think, how can I do to get more Bitcoin? As a company, you need to think, how can I do to increase my sats per share? And as a country leader, you need to say, how can I do to make my reserve of Bitcoin bigger? That's the thing, because the one who holds more Bitcoin is the one who wins.
Yeah, I mean, first mover advantage, regardless of the arena, is very real, and it's never been more important, seemingly, than it is with Bitcoin right now. Because as we know, everything infinity goes to zero against Bitcoin. So you better get in or be left behind. And I'm glad to see our government, for some of the things I like and some I don't like, they're certainly seeming to be pushing this agenda in the direction that I think is the way we need to be going. So that's a big sigh of relief. We're going to take a quick break, Fernando, but when we're back, I want to chat with you about a recent report where El Salvador is actually being said to have not bought more Bitcoin since February after their deal with the IMF, which goes against a lot of what we've heard from their president, Nayib Bukele, in recent months and weeks. So we're going to talk about that and much more with Fernando, the Bitcoin Libertarian, when we come back with more Blockchain Report in just a sec.
Security matters. Zappo Bank, the only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at zappobank.com.
All right, and we're back with more Bull Run. I am, of course, joined by our wonderful guest, Fernando, the Bitcoin Libertarian, who's going to be hanging out with us more in just a sec, right after we go over this next story, because the International Monetary Fund, or the IMF, recently published a report about its current loan agreement with El Salvador. The report claims the Latin American nation has not purchased any additional Bitcoin since February of this year. That's when its loan deal with the IMF began. Now, this contradicts President Nayib Bukele's public statements, as he's claimed the country has continued to increase its Bitcoin holdings. The IMF report was released earlier this week as part of its first review of the loan program. It states that the stock of Bitcoins held by the public sector remains unchanged. The Chivo Bitcoin wallet does not adjust its reserves to reflect changes in Bitcoin deposits. Now, Chivo doesn't sell its BTC. This leads to minor discrepancies that make it seem like El Salvador's public sector is buying more Bitcoin. An attached letter signed by El Salvador Central Bank President Douglas Pablo Rodriguez Fuentes and Minister of Finance Gerson Rogelio Posada Molina confirmed the situation. The letter stated that El Salvador has provided the addresses of all of its hot and cold wallets to the IMF for review and monitoring. In line with commitments under the program, the stock of Bitcoins held by the public sector remains unchanged, the letter said. We are taking steps to mitigate fiscal risks by reducing the public sector's role in the Chivo wallet and reframing the Bitcoin project, it continued. In December of 2024, El Salvador reached an agreement with the IMF to receive a $3.3 billion loan package. Now, one of the conditions was the prohibition of voluntary accumulation of Bitcoin by the public sector. Bukele's government would not be allowed to continue buying BTC if it wanted to comply with the loan deal. Nevertheless, the administration has repeatedly claimed that it buys one Bitcoin daily. This strategy began back in November of 2022. On March 4th, after the loan's deal's conditions were revealed, Bukele declared the Bitcoin shopping spree was not stopping. Now, according to El Salvador's Bitcoin office, the Treasury wallet currently holds around 6,200 Bitcoin. The IMF reports claims that these are not new purchases. Instead, the Salvadorian government is consolidating its existing holdings. Increases in Bitcoin holdings in the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve Fund reflect the consolidation of Bitcoin across various government-owned wallets, the IMF wrote in a footnote of this very report. So we're bringing back Fernando. Fernando, the IMF says that El Salvador has not purchased Bitcoin since February, while their president, Bukele, claims the government is buying daily. Who do you believe in this situation and why? I'm not sure what to think.
It's a complicated because this is something that the IMF always do because of course the Latin America country they need money and the IMF they give money and one of the
Right.
conditions is not to buy. For example, in Argentina, the last help that the IMF sent to our country, they said that something that they need to not to support the cryptocurrency things and I don't remember, but was something one of the conditions was to be against the crypto world. If I have to believe to someone, I have to believe to Bukele, but I don't know which problem can bring to him if he does this against the IMF. For me, I don't like the IMF because I know what these people do to the countries like us, like Latin American countries and African countries. They want to like, okay, we give you money, but we keep you in the hamster wheel, so you need more money, and you are our slaves forever. So that's why they don't want to buy Bitcoin. To be honest, I don't know who. If I have to believe, I believe Bukele because he's a Bitcoiner like me. So I will always believe, trust, not trust, but believe, try to believe Bitcoiners more than the fiat people. But I don't know if this can bring any legal stuff or any problem if he compromise himself or the country to not to buy Bitcoin and he got the money from the IMF and he still buy Bitcoin if he can get some sanctions worldwide. But the problem is like, as we spoke before, the biggest partner of IMF is United States. And now in United States, you have a pro-Bitcoin president. So I don't know if he can, if he's violating that, I don't know if he can get some punishment or if he gets probably it's like, I don't know, not so hard. But if I have to believe, I believe Bukele all the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree with you. I mean, he clearly sees the benefits of Bitcoin, so I feel like one way or another, he's continuing to acquire more, even though this $3.3 billion loan is supposed to prevent him from buying said Bitcoin. That kind of brings me to the question, do you think it's that this whole thing is fair? Is it fair for the IMF to say, we're going to loan you this money, but you can't buy Bitcoin? Or is this an example of like international financial control? Like, how do you feel about that? Should the IMF be allowed to tell them they can't buy Bitcoin if they're lending them money?
Well, it's the money of the money, the people who put the money is the IMF. It's the same, like, of course, they are not lending me the place where I live, but for example, my landlord doesn't allow me to do some things in the apartment where I live. So that's the point. I think that if the IMF puts the money, they are on the right to say you cannot do this, or that. That's the main point. And of course, as an IMF, if I were the IMF, I would not try. I would try not these countries to buy Bitcoin because as much Bitcoin as you accumulate in the future, you can say fuck the IMF. So, but that's the point. That's why. But they are on their own right. They can do whatever they do because they put the money. It's like again, if I bring I don't know, if I bring like a pet to my apartment and I don't tell my landlady, she can come and she can say no. I didn't allow you to have a pet, and I can say nothing. So that's the point.
Right. No, I think that makes sense. But do you think that the IMF is trying to actively discourage other countries from adopting Bitcoin through this kind of pressure? Is this kind of their indictment that clearly the IMF right now is just still isn't a Bitcoin buyer, so to speak?
Yes, of course, because the business of the IMF is like this, is a loan shark. The IMF is a loan shark. So their business is not you to repay your loan, is to keep on this hamster wheel of asking money, and then they put these conditions that can be don't buy Bitcoin, or that can be give me this of the countries that are behind the IMF. Give me this strategic asset that your country has, because Latin America or Africa, that are the countries that are more punished by the IMF politics, are the countries that we are super poor countries, but we have a lot of natural resources. So for the IMF and for the people who control the IMF, having these countries in a continuous hamster wheel is good for them, because they can negotiate good things that our countries have. And if you let the country buy Bitcoin, let's say if you get a loan and you buy Bitcoin, in a short time, in a certain period, this amount that you hold of Bitcoin is going to be bigger than the loans that you have from the IMF. And in the long run, you're going to have more power than the IMF. So they are preventing you to become more powerful than them. So that's why they put these conditions, because the business of these loan sharks, institutional loan sharks, is to keep the countries in a hamster wheel, so they can control strategic things from the country. And of course, if you buy Bitcoin, you are buying freedom. So they don't want freedom from the countries.
Yeah. So is it fair to say you think that El Salvador should be prioritizing their financial independence through Bitcoin as opposed to cooperating with the IMF for short-term economic stability? Because it's like, well, the IMF is lending them this money, so short-term things are good, but we both know long-term, if they keep acquiring Bitcoin, that will be the real economic stability and independence. So in your view, they probably should keep stacking sats and kind of throw what the IMF is saying to the wayside. Is that accurate?
No doubt. Like, for the strategy is like, all the money that can come to your hands, you need to convert into Bitcoin. So I think that I don't care the IMF, if they can do it, if they can put this 3.3 billion US loan into Bitcoin, is the smartest move. Then, okay, you can say whatever you want, the IMF, but we already have the Bitcoin and you cannot seize them.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only thing dumber than not buying more Bitcoin is selling it. And I want to talk to you about that with our next story in just a sec, so hang tight. Because the British government, well, they're considering selling off roughly $5 billion in confiscated Bitcoin, because clearly selling scarce digital assets during the bull run is what fiscal responsibility looks like here in 2025. Now, Chancellor Rachel Reeves reportedly wants to plug in a $20 billion hole in UK's national budget. And what a better way to do that than liquidating one of the best performing assets on Earth. The UK currently holds about 61,000 BTC. That's the third largest stash of any government. And most of it came from a massive Chinese Ponzi scheme linked to Jian Wen, a former London takeaway worker turned accidental Bitcoin whale. Authorities raided her properties, found tens of thousands of coins, which now might be dumped onto the open market. Now, at a time when Bitcoin recently hit a new all-time high of nearly 123K, that might not be the smartest plan. I mean, last year, Germany's Saxony region sold off $2.9 billion worth of seized Bitcoin. They offloaded it between June and July, and then Bitcoin's price exploded. The crypto community, well, they weren't particularly thrilled about it. In fact, critics called it one of the worst timed government fire sales since Gordon Brown sold off half of Britain's gold at $275 an ounce. And now the UK is flirting with the same mistake again. Analysts expect Bitcoin to surge even higher this year, so naturally the British response is, let's cash out now and then pray the bottom doesn't fall out after we sell. Now, the government says it's still developing a secure framework for holding and liquidating seized crypto, which is government speak for we're winging it. Now, if they go through with it, the UK might cover a quarter of its deficit and lose billions in future upside in the process. Then again, this is the same country that still uses paper checks and drinks warm beer. So yeah, totally tracks. We're bringing back Fernando. Fernando, the UK is thinking about selling $5 billion in seized Bitcoin. Do you believe this is a smart move during the bull market or another major mistake from the Brits?
Of course, if you know me, it's a big mistake. In the bull market, in the bear market, when Bitcoin is 1 million US when Bitcoin is 10 million US is a big mistake to buy Bitcoin, especially if you're a national state that can print your own money. So why are you gonna sell Bitcoin and get money that you can print of thin air to cover the deficit?
Yeah.
You can cut the deficit in another way instead of selling Bitcoin. Argentina cut the deficit in 1 month. So it's like Argentina has a fiscal surplus in the first month of Milei's presidency. So I think that these are stupid moves. I think that these are made by policymakers that don't understand Bitcoin and hate Bitcoin because they don't understand Bitcoin. So that's why they do these stupid things. So are you gonna sell Bitcoin for something that you can print? It's stupid. If I can't print my own money, I wouldn't even sell anything. So you can, again, you have the first thing. You can print more money instead of selling Bitcoin. Second, you can cut the deficit in another way instead of selling Bitcoin. Because, again, as a national state, you need to think Bitcoin as a matter of national security, not as a company like Sailor that is to increase the market cap or the value of the company, or for us individuals that is for probably retirement or something like that. A country needs to think about Bitcoin as a matter of national security. So why are you gonna let it go? It's stupid. And they came to you for free because it was seized. So it's like, I don't know if the politicians are stupid or they hate Bitcoin or they don't understand, but it's a stupid move.
Yeah, and are you at all worried about the message that it sends when a country like the UK is trying to sell one of the best performing assets of all time instead of holding it? Or is this just the Brits doing silly Brit things like when they put mayonnaise on hamburgers? Like, what is this? What's going on here?
I think that is, I don't want to say the Brits because I know a lot of people from UK that I had in my show the CEO of the Smarter Web company, and I know really smart people from the UK. I would say not the Brits, I would say the British government. And of course, they are doing silly stuff. And it's not a problem for Bitcoin, it's a problem for them. If they want to sell, I would say, have fun staying poor. But again, don't do this, don't sell Bitcoin. But this is a stupid move from the government. And yes, of course, most of the governments of the world are run by stupid people, especially the governments in Europe. So for me, it's not a surprise.
Yeah. Do you feel like, what's it going to take for a company or a country like the United Kingdom to embrace Bitcoin? Like, it's crazy. We've seen Germany got lambasted for it last year. They sold a bunch that's now doubled, right? The UK looks like they're trying to head down a similar path. Are they waiting for the green flag from the United States, like a lot of other countries out there, to buy Bitcoin actively before they can feel comfortable in holding it and acquiring it themselves? Are we just waiting for that to happen here in the United States before all of this silliness from other, especially European countries, stops where they're selling their Bitcoin? Are they just kind of waiting for permission by way of the United States giving permission to ourselves?
No, I don't know that they are waiting for that. I think that any country, well, let's say European Union, they have the ECB, but the United Kingdom is not attached to the ECB. So I think that each country as the same, as each person has their own position and their own views to Bitcoin. And probably the ones that didn't study and didn't understand and didn't take time to study Bitcoin and understand that are going to pay the consequences. But I don't think that they are waiting for United States or any other country. I think that they are just being stupid. That's the thing. So, and they are going to probably become, the other day I uploaded a meme, like Germany is the Bitcoin pizza guy of the countries. So it's like, and probably the United Kingdom wants to follow. So, But yeah, it's like it's a stupid move. I don't think that they are waiting for United States. I think that each country sooner or later will have politicians or people, smart people who understand Bitcoin or who are not this in their ego position that they think that they know everything, and then at least try to bring people to get advice about Bitcoin and make decisions based on what smart people say instead of what their stupid minds think. That's the point.
Yeah, it always takes time for people to warm up to these new technologies. And we're really in the midst of what seems to be a monetary financial revolution. So I can understand people's skepticism early on. But if you've been watching what Bitcoin's been doing this year and for the last 16, for me, it just seems kind of like you said, a silly decision to sell something that's been appreciating at a rate that no other asset in human history that I'm aware of has done. So maybe not the smartest move, but we'll see how things play out. We'll see. Before we let you go, we're going to end the show here really quick. Fernando, I think you said you were listening in when we had Carlos earlier. He thinks Bitcoin 159 in the next 2 months. How does that align with your vision? Does that feel about right? You think we're going to go a little lower, a little bit higher? What are your thoughts? Not financial advice.
I think that, yeah, probably. I was listening quietly to Carlos. For me, it's a great character. I would like to have him in my podcast in Spanish because although I don't think the same as him in many political ways, but I agree with him that it probably in the next 2 months we can reach 160 or even more. I made a poll the other day on X and I say 200K Bitcoin when, and most of the people said October. So if we are in August, July, so almost August, September, October, probably we can have in the next 2 months 160 and even more. I do agree with him.
Ooh, I like it. If Bitcoin hits 200K by October, I'm picking you up in my new pre-owned helicopter that I'm going to buy, Fernando. So
amazing.
Get ready for that, buddy. As always.
I have, go ahead. Here I have my cigars. So I bought two special cigars for when Bitcoin is 150. So it's going to happen soon.
All right. Hope you're lighting it up with us on this show. Before we let you go, Fernando, we know you have your own amazing podcast. Where can our audience go check it out if they want to hear more of all your insights and expertise?
Yes, we have. Everyone can follow me on X, the Bitcoin _. Our podcast, our channel in English is the Bitcoin Libertarian. Our Instagram is the Bitcoin Libertarian, and we also have our channel in Spanish. That is my mother language, and is the Bitcoin Libertarian ESP. This is our podcast in Spanish.
Muy bueno. Well, Fernando, always a pleasure. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in to today's episode of the Blockchain Report. We'll be back same time and place tomorrow with more Bitcoin bedlam and crypto chaos. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys mañana. Until then, adios.